Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. Super excited to jump on here with Tim. Uh, Tim just started with us in Elite, so really excited to talk to him about his progress. So, hey Tim, just starting out, can you just briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Tim Ewing, and I'm a CPA. I've been in business for myself for about 5.5 years now. Um, and now I've been in business for over 30 years and have actually dabbled in some self-employment opportunities over those years. But a lot of the time I've been a W-2 employee, CFO hat, COO hat, CEO hat. But full time on my own for the last 5.5 years building my CPA practice.
Great, Tim. And what services in particular were you focusing on with the CPA practice?
Well, initially I wanted to be an outsourced CFO, and the low-hanging fruit, if you will, was helping people with their bookkeeping. All my work is done remotely and virtually. So clients that have their accounting systems in the cloud, and then of course on the tax front, people found out I'm a CPA and they would ask if I could help with their tax return. So I sort of, not wanting to do it, but ended up where today I've got a practice that does a whole lot more of the compliance type work, helping small and medium-sized business owners with their bookkeeping and their tax work. And I have a couple part-time people that work for me in the trenches there in addition to me. So I'm not doing all the work myself, but I sort of lost my vision for being that, not just an outsourced CFO, but a strategic business advisor and partner with business owners, helping them grow their businesses and leverage what I've learned over the years. So I got so busy in the morass of this compliance work. But I recently recaught the vision and have been looking for a strategy and a way to kind of get back to my original vision and grow my business into this more strategic work with business owners.
Great. Yep, and I'm excited to jump in and talk to you a little bit about that. So, yeah, Tim, let's just paint the picture back to where you were really before we started. So,
Uh-huh.
where were you before? What were you doing before working with us?
Yeah. Well, I turned the corner and realized how much work and how much growth it was going to take in terms of like number of tax returns, number of bookkeeping clients to get the revenue for my business and my own kind of personal compensation to where I wanted it to be. And that was sort of a light bulb moment for me. This was kind of a process over the last 12 months in particular. And then I began looking for, okay, how can I transition and grow beyond kind of this client business? How do I find leads? I have my own network of just some business owners and entrepreneurs and people I've gotten to know over the years, and I spread the word to let them know what I was doing. And of course, in today's age, with all the activity going online in terms of marketing and doing lead generation, and since my business is fully remote, most of my customers I've never even met face to face. So I like doing things in the cloud and working remotely and working digitally. And while there's unique challenges building relationships with clients that way, it's not impossible. And I've enjoyed that path. But specifically, I just was having a hard time getting traction and finding clients and being able to grow this strategic advisory component to my business. And that's sort of, and then I met Charlie through a friend of a friend, and that's how we got to know each other and start our relationship.
Right. Awesome. And Tim, do you want to share real quick where you're talking from currently, Mr. Remote
Yeah.
over there?
Oh, currently right now, yeah, I'm in Colorado. I have an RV, so I do a lot of travel in my RV. I've got friends and family and customers scattered around the U.S. So I find it, well, I just enjoy the travel and seeing our beautiful country, but also being able to get around and visit friends, family, and customers no matter where they are. So I'm trying to get to where I have met all my customers face to face. Currently, I'm in Colorado. I'm surrounded by some beautiful mountains. I'm sitting at about 8,200 feet elevation, so the air's kind of thin up here. But I've got a couple 14,000 foot mountains right out my window, and just some beautiful forest. And so that's where I am currently right now.
That is so cool, Tim. So, so you have the ability, you're working remote now. But before we were working together, you were working on those traditional services, the tax, the bookkeeping, and you still are to an extent for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was in the middle of tax season,
Mm-hmm.
and my book of business doubled from the prior year, which is what caused me to bring on somebody to help with the tax returns. And then with all the craziness of our current environment with COVID and all that, it's extended tax season, and I needed to continue to have some more heads down time without distractions, which is why I came up here in the remote mountains of Colorado to continue to plug away on tax returns. But I also, things that I've even learned from you, Charlie, in the last week or so, want to make those things a higher priority and implement those things. And so being up here right now, in a few weeks, I'll be with some family. But for right now, yeah, I'm heads down. I want to really get some momentum going. Not only to finish off tax returns, but get going on growing my business the way I would like to.
That's great. So let's dive into what we've done so far. So, as soon as you came on board, I believe the first thing we did was we had a battle plan call. Do you remember what we discussed on that call?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Maybe a week or 10 days at the most.
Right.
Let's see. So I kind of had everything that I just shared, kind of running around in my head, kind of chaotically. And first of all, I love that term battle plan. I mean, it just really helped my mindset to just zero in on what we were. It gave me some high hopes about our conversation. I wasn't quite sure where you're going to take the conversation, but calling it a battle plan meeting framed it well for me. And the meeting went great. Really exceeded my expectations. And to get more specific about what occurred in the meeting is first of all, Charlie asks good questions and helps me take all this chaos of thought and experience and even some frustration and uncertainty about next steps that I need to take and plan and prioritize. So he asked some good questions, really helped me hone in on the important things and think out loud and come up with some of those next steps. In addition to asking good questions and helping me narrow my thinking and my focus, he has a framework, the battle plan. There's sort of a framework that he provides that helped me, I guess, sort of even focus and make some decisions. Things like who is my customer, who is my target market, things that I knew I needed to define better, but had been struggling to. And then once you decide on that, he's got some great ideas on how to do lead generation and so forth to go find prospects, as well as how to implement how to have the conversations to sort of bring people in. Funnel is kind of an overused word this day, or concept these days. And Charlie doesn't really use that concept, but really in general, he kind of helped provide me with a funnel type structure or process to think about how to bring leads in using, in my case, I wanted to use online technology, get people into a conversation, and even filter them for whether they're the kind of qualified candidate that I want to talk to, and have the conversation and get them to be a customer or a client. So, and then even the follow through. Okay, once you've got a client, how do you implement? What's the process for me beginning to provide those advisory services? So I'm really at the beginning stage of putting definition and putting meat on the bones. Charlie in the battle plan gave me the framework and the bones, so to speak. And my homework has been to add meat to the bones and then begin doing some of those things online and start having those conversations. So that's still all in future. But I'm making great gains in getting prepared to have those conversations and start moving people down the funnel and winning clients.
Awesome, Tim. And I think the first thing that we did when we highlighted that, the first thing I remember is we definitely set vision there and set your goals for where you wanted to get to.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to, actually, you knew you wanted to do advisory, right? But you weren't sure, if I recall right, you weren't sure what my service was going to look like, or what is that. So how did we work together? You know, how did we come up together with, you know, what your advisory service was going to be, or you know, how that's shaping?
You know, I guess it's okay to share your secret formula a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But anyway, the real light bulb moment that was powerful, that helped me turn the corner in the middle of our conversation and doing the battle plan, was you presented what you called the 3 Ps. I'm going to choke on the camera here, remembering the 3 Ps. Okay, so what's the problem, and the promise, and the process? So the problem is, okay, my customers or my clients or my prospect, my target market, where's their struggle? Where's their pain? I need to get clarity about that. And then what's my promise to them? How am I going to help them fix it? What's the solution that I bring? And I love that term promise, because you're not just saying, hey, Tim, what's your solution that you're going to provide your clients? I have to present it in the form of a promise. I mean, really, that is what I'm doing, is I'm saying, I've identify with you, and I feel your pain, or I'm aware of your pain. You know, the customer, that as I'm talking with the prospect, they've described it. And now I'm saying, okay, I've got some ideas for how I can help. But that comes with a promise. You know, I have to be confident about that in presenting the solution. And so I really love that terminology too, just calling it a promise. And then process is, okay, what's the, kind of at a high level, we started at a high level. What are the steps? What are the 4, 5, 6 kind of categories of things that services that I'm going to provide to the prospective client to help me fulfill my promise, which in turn solves their problem. So Charlie, you know, Charlie uses that same framework himself, you know, so he's, the philosophy that he's teaching me, or the approach that he was teaching me, of course, is what he uses himself. And that's great too, because then he's got a perfect real life example there that he can share. Here's how I do it. And that helped me too, to kind of just say, okay, here's what Charlie is doing now. How can I orient those same concepts into the target market that I'm aiming for?
100%. And then just to continue on that, are you open to sharing a little bit about what we actually came up with in terms of what your 3 Ps are?
Yeah, sure. Give away my secret formula.
Yeah.
But that's okay. If it's a good one and people copy it, that's a sign of a healthy market. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, one of the things I was struggling with is, who is my target? You know, who's my niche? I mean, I love the idea, and I'm a believer in the idea of niching down and narrowing your focus. And if you try and do a lot of things well, you end up doing nothing well. If you do aim to do a few things very well, then usually you succeed in that. So, but you know, like I told Charlie, I said, it's like I have one customer in every different kind of industry, and I like them all, you know, for the most part. So, you know, if I choose one, then I sort of eliminate. And what I'm saying there is customers that maybe current customers have the potential to grow into advisory, but currently maybe I'm doing their tax work and or bookkeeping work for them. So to me, it was a bit of a dilemma. If I narrow, then I kind of eliminate some of my current customer base. What Charlie said is, well, don't think in terms of niching by industry. Maybe there's kind of a more demographic way to think of your niche. And he really tapped into something that I'm passionate about, is helping business owners who, and kind of the phraseology that I came up with after our battle plan conversation, as I began to think and ponder and put meat to the bones, was business owners who are overworked and underpaid. Because that was me. That is me. And I'm passionate about changing my business model and doing what I can to improve upon that situation. And so I'm passionate about helping other business owners work themselves out of that type of a dilemma as well. So that's kind of my target right now, my niche. It's not necessarily by industry group, and maybe in time I'll narrow that down. And I'm planning on kind of doing that, continuing to think about how to narrow. But for now, it's and that also describes the problem. Overwork and underpaid business owners. What can they do to fulfill their dreams, to get to a better place, assuming they want to? Hey, if they enjoy being that way, then I can't help them. But if they want to get to a better place like I do, where I'm feeling not overworked and well paid, then they're a good client for me. So, and then my promise is that I'll help them within 90 days. That was the other thing you said, is put a time frame on it. Instead of just trying to get somebody into a never ending, or even like a 1 year, monthly retainer type engagement, you're like, hey, think shorter term. So I came up with an approach that says, hey, within 90 days, I can get you on a path to freedom. If you're a business owner that's overworked and underpaid, let's talk about how I can put you on a path to freedom within 90 days. And then the process, and then, with Charlie's help, I was able to get going on putting meat on the bones with what would my process be. So, for example, I think with a lot of people, it's always going to start with vision. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. Or how do you know if you get there? So in my case, that would be the first big step in the process. Is I call it defining your dream. So do you want me to go on, Charlie?
I think that's a good overview. Like, I think that we painted that picture pretty well. So thanks a lot for sharing that, Tim. And I just want to, let you know, I'm just so excited about the potential of that offer. And I know there's so many people that need that help. So I'm really excited for that. And like we said, it's literally only been, a week or two working together. Have you started taking steps now that we've painted that, or now that we've crafted that service offering, we've gotten clear on advisory? Have you started to take that to market yet, or start to put yourself out there?
Yeah. Started implementing your approach. And Facebook is, it's not that you have to choose Facebook, but that was the area that I chose, with Charlie's guidance as my primary online vehicle to do my marketing, to do my lead generation. So Charlie's got a plan for how to build your friends list. So I began implementing that, adding friends, and then begin warming up the audience with just being active. I haven't been very active on Facebook. So, and sort of showing, I like the idea of show, don't tell, but showing my friends list who I am and what I'm up to. So I just began doing posts and things like that. But more specifically, Charlie's got one of his lead generation concepts or types of posts is what he calls a mission post. So that was one I did a couple of days ago, which was really the first big leap. It's one thing to just sort of put out some generic messaging and some tips and some advice and some encouragement. And for me, it's kind of all framed around business, building your business, being successful, mindset type things, positioning yourself for success. So I started just kind of planting some seeds like that. But the mission post is specifically saying, hey, here's my mission, this, and who's on board, who wants to join me in this, as a type of lead generation, hoping to have, if there's business owners out there who resonate with the kind of things I've been posting, and more specifically that mission post that says, hey, my mission is to help business owner, overworked and underpaid business owners get on that path to freedom in 90 days. Who's with me? that was sort of a big, bold post with Charlie's encouragement to get the ball rolling.
Great. That's awesome, Tim. And the with that post and then with the other content that you're putting out there, are you starting to see some traction and starting to get some potential interest there with engagement?
Comments? I would say so far, I've had some people say, help me with my business, or I've got a bunch of business ideas. Can you help me? Or I don't, so, and those, I'm looking for people who primarily who already have an established business and are already feeling overworked and underpaid in an active business that they've got going. So, but it's great to see some activity, and people giving me likes and saying, hey, I like what you're saying. They haven't necessarily raised their hand and sort of described themselves if they're a business owner that's feeling overworked and underpaid, but it's the beginning of a communication and a dialogue, and that I will follow up on. And again, that's part of what Charlie teaches is how to engage and continue those conversations online, in sort of a proper professional way. So you're not scaring people away or throwing too much at them too fast, kind of working them into that funnel, so to speak.
Wow, Tim, you've accomplished a lot in 1 to 2 weeks. Like I'm really excited for you. Where do you see happening over the next 30 days? Where do you want to take this from here?
Well, the next 30 days, say I have this tax return burden on my back, so that's hogging up half my day. But in 30 days, that should be done or down to a trickle. And then I can go whole hog into these things that we've been talking about. But even still, I actually have one client who I had engaged in advisory services, and I'll begin working with that business owner in June. So I'm able to I haven't done anything yet with him, but I'm going to be taking the things that Charlie has helped me put together in terms of that process and get that implemented. And I've got a couple conversations going on right now with business owners that I hope to turn into 90-day advisory gigs. So that's my plan over the next 30 days is to implement this one, get started with that, and get at least 2 more. And then tax return season will be mostly over, and I can go forward with, just like I said, whole hog. My goal is to get 5-6 clients at a time, and charging higher premium type fees, so that, at that level, I'd be into a revenue level that I've not been close to yet doing all this compliance work. So that's kind of my next stage for growth or target in terms of, for my own business.
And Tim, just for clarity, when you say high ticket, or high price point, we're looking between like 1K to 5K, somewhere in that range a month.
Yeah, per month. Yeah, per month per client. And I'm not planning that each client would be, a 40-hour a month client. So, I'm sort of, my sweet spot is maybe 10 hours a month per client. Now in the early stages, it'll be more because I'm building things that I will, processes and procedures and even worksheets and things like that, that going forward, I won't have to rebuild. But, so I'm kind of thinking for a client that could pay between 1 and 5K a month, and, might be costing me 10 to 15 hours, or I'd be putting in 10 to 15 hours a month per client. And then going forward and scaling that up. And as I do more of these, my confidence will go up, and probably that monthly fee will go up likewise until I find that right sweet spot, where, demand and supply equals out at a proper price.
Spoken like a true accountant, Tim.
That's right. I always like economics better.
It's more economics, right? Yeah. All right. So I just want, just to circle back, what made you decide to come on board with us in Elite?
Well, I know some other CPA slash accounting professionals who had been involved in your program, and so you came highly recommended from them. That's actually how I found out about you. So it was friend of a friend type situation, um, and then I think just having the conversation with you, Charlie, like I said, you asked good questions. You got me even before the battle plan when we were just talking about working together. Um, you just the way we had that conversation, you instilled confidence in me that I could realize my dreams and that you could help me in that process. So.
Love it. And I'm so excited for what's coming down the pipe here. Just even the next 30 days. So,
Yeah.
uh,
See, there you go, installing that confidence. You're so good
there
at
you
it. So,
go. Right. Yeah. What would you say, like, what would you say to somebody that's maybe on the fence, thinking about jumping in?
well, I would say do it. In the grand scheme of things, accountants are famous for what do they call it? Paralysis of analysis, and indecision. And we want to make sure we have all the facts and that, decisions are as low risk as possible. But, I would just say take the leap. As an entrepreneur myself over the years and working in businesses, not always as the accountant, but as a business development guy and a marketing guy and things like that too. I just learned the value of making decisions, taking the leap. You want to be smart about it, do some analysis, but don't just be stuck on the fence. Go for it. Invest your time. Move forward movement. I guess in a way, what I'm saying is any kind of movement is better than no movement, than just sitting on the fence. So better to move forward and do a course correction if you need to, than to just be kind of stuck, wondering, hoping. I mean, if you don't try anything different, we all know the answer to that. If you keep doing the same stuff, how can you anticipate getting different or better results? So.
100%. And then finally, Tim, who would you think is a good fit, or who would you recommend, looking to jumping into Elite with us?
Yeah, I would say anybody who's your focus, Charlie, is on accounting professionals. So if you're operating your own accounting profession, and you would like to, would like to be more profitable, would like to grow your business, would like to grow your business in a more profitable way. If you're kind of tired and frustrated of the compliance work of bookkeeping and doing tax returns, and you want to play a more strategic role in growing your business and tapping into higher profitable engagements, then I would recommend you get involved in Charlie's program.
I appreciate that, Tim, and it's been a pleasure working together, and I'm just excited for what's to come down the pipe here.
Me too.
Yeah,
I
let's go.
That's right.
Okay, well, just as we wrap up here, Tim, where can people find out more about you? How can people, find out more about you online?
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook page. If you were to do a search on Tim Ewing or Quest Business Solutions, and I have a website, it's questcpa.com, and there's a hyphen between Quest and CPA. So Quest, like going on an adventure, that's what I'm all about. So quest-cpa.com is my URL.
Love it. Spoken right from the RV. So
That's
this
right.
guy knows a thing or two about adventure. So, yeah, Tim, I just appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much. And, yep, we'll talk to you here soon. Okay.
Excellent. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Charlie, and look forward to continuing our work together.
Agreed. Okay. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.